Opening credits. Ava and Carol Detective Agency, The Haunted Mansion. Written by Thomas Lockhaven, with Emily Chase. Edited by Dave Aretha. Narrated by Amy Johnson. Chapter 18. May the Force Be With You. The trio ran through Archie's into a room filled with display cases containing costumes from famous movies.
"Grab a costume and get changed. We've got to hurry,"
yelled Ava. Carol flung a vintage Captain America costume to Derek.
"Change into this,"
she said, pushing him out the door. Ava scanned the display cases. Wonder Woman? No. Batgirl? No. She needed something warm and mobile. And that's when she saw it. Gumby. Carol peeled off her clothes and began pulling herself into a furry Chewbacca costume. Moments later, Derek rapped on the door dressed as Captain America. He quickly crossed the room and grabbed a red, white, and blue scooter with a large white star.
"You know what to do, right?"
asked Carol, narrowing her eyes.
"Trust me, I'm on it,"
said Derek, nodding.
"Godspeed, Winter Soldier,"
said Ava, as Derek ran to the front door and zipped away on the scooter. Ava? Carol? What the heck are you doing? Asked Detective Edwards, a confused look on his face.
"We're catching the drone pilot. It's Harvey from Public Works,"
said Ava, putting on a large pair of green foam boots.
"Tell Officer Tiny to meet us at Crispin Pond," said Carol. "We won't do anything until he gets there."
"If he sees you, he'll disappear," said Ava. "He's got a tunnel system with tons of secret exits. 2 cars. Please, Blake."
"We'll promise we'll hide in the woods until Officer Tiny gets there. I have a plan,"
said Carol.
"Time is not on our side right now," said Ava. "We know what we're doing."
Detective Edwards shook his head and exhaled. "I'm going to regret this, aren't I?"
"If he gets away," said Ava, "then yes. We're blaming it all on you."
"Okay. Wait for Officer Tiny before you do anything."
"Yes, sir,"
said Carol, putting on her Chewbacca mask. "May the Force be with you," laughed Officer Davis, shaking her head. Chapter 19. Derek Sees Blue. Ava and Carol crouched behind a clump of snow-covered evergreen trees at the edge of what was once Crispin Pond. A chill ran through Ava's body, making her shudder.
"I should have picked a warmer costume,"
she whispered, wrapping her arms around her body.
"Yeah, mine's quite toasty,"
replied Carol.
"Do you think we made it in time?"
"I don't see any fresh tire tracks," said Ava, pointing at the pristine, freshly fallen snow.
"My question is, where the heck is Derek? He had a huge head start on us,"
said Ava.
"I know,"
said Carol, grabbing her phone.
"He was supposed to text us when he got here."
"Maybe he's in trouble," said Ava.
"Harvey could have kidnapped him. Or worse,"
whispered Carol. Ava looked at Carol.
"Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" "I never thought I would say this,"
said Carol, dropping her head.
"But most likely, yes."
Without another word, the girls crept across the icy ravine, crouching behind the huge rock wall that hid the thieves' car. Ava crawled on her hands and knees and peeked her head around the corner. The thieves' old gray Toyota was still there.
"Derek,"
she hissed, holding her foamy green hand to her mouth.
"Derek, are you there?"
Nothing. She crawled back to Carol and shook her head.
"The thieves' car is still there, but there's no sign of Derek." "I'll try texting him,"
whispered Carol, fearing the worst. Carol had just grabbed her phone when they heard footsteps crunching in the snow. Ava crawled on her belly, peering around the edge of the rock. A tall, thin man with a goatee and ponytail was struggling under the weight of 2 black duffel bags. She slid back behind the rock.
"It's Harvey," she hissed. "He's got 2 heavy duffel bags." "The money and the jewels," whispered Carol. "Did you see Derek?"
Ava frowned and shook her head.
"No,"
she whispered. The sound of the trunk slamming made the girls jump.
"We can't wait for Officer Tiny. Harvey's going to get away," said Carol.
"You're right," replied Ava, leaping to her feet.
"Ava, what are you doing?"
hissed Carol.
"Come on, I've got a plan." "Wait,"
said Carol, grabbing Ava by the elbow.
"What's the plan?"
"I'm making it up as I go along," yelled Ava as she dashed around the rock wall. Harvey opened the car door and had one leg in the car when Ava shouted, "Harvey! Harvey Cooper!" Harvey whirled around to face the girls. He shook his head and rubbed his eyes. Was that really Gumby and Chewbacca? "Who are you?" he yelled. "What do you want?" "We know what you did, Harvey. We know you stole the money. We know everything about you." "Oh, it's you two. I'll send you a postcard from Mexico." He laughed as he climbed in the car and slammed the door. Carol and Ava jumped aside, expecting him to roar away, but the car didn't move. They could see Harvey beating the steering wheel and screaming. Then, as if it were a dream, Derek appeared from behind a rock. He marched up to the hood of the car, a fistful of wires dangling from his hand. Carol punched Ava in the shoulder.
"Look! He ripped out—"
She shook her head, not knowing what to say.
"He ripped out a bunch of important-looking wires."
Enraged, Harvey kicked open his car door. Derek's eyes flew open wide as he ran screaming, hiding behind a pile of rocks. Harvey turned and stared evilly at the girls. "You're gonna pay for this," he screamed, racing toward the girls. "Don't you have a plane to catch?" yelled Ava, trying to run in her Gumby costume. Harvey grabbed Ava by the back of her foam head, pulling her toward the car, her feet dragging across the snow. "Unhand her!" yelled Derek from atop a huge boulder, brandishing his Captain America shield. Ava kicked and twisted, but Harvey held on tight. Just as he reached into his jacket for the car keys, Derek let out a ferocious scream. "Fly!" he shouted as he hurled the shield at Harvey. Unfortunately, the shield weighed about 20 pounds. It flew about 3 feet and then sank into the snow. Even more unfortunate, Derek slipped from the huge boulder, crashing to the ground face first with a loud oomph. He lifted his head and whispered, "Blue lights," and then collapsed back into the snow. Harvey, momentarily distracted, screamed as Carol whipped a snowball directly into his face. Ava threw herself backward into him, knocking him onto the car's trunk. Just as he sat up, she hurled another snowball into his face. A terrifying look filled Harvey's eyes, making Carol gulp. "No more games," he growled. Keeping an eye on the girls, he opened the trunk of the car and pulled out a tire iron. "You couldn't leave well enough alone, could you?" Ava looked at Carol. There was no way they were going to outrun Harvey.
"Follow me,"
whispered Ava.
"I got a plan."
If you're enjoying Thomas Lockhaven's audiobook content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way to help out the channel.